I'm really excited to work with you, Kunai. I think what we've been talking about the past day or so is, you know, just the type of thing that you've been saying. How can what I've done a little bit of intentional coaching with a couple of people, just like a couple of times, but really kind of what I wanted to look at doing was just really setting up a training routine, looking at some VODs over time, and just getting somebody who can really help me see things in the long run. And you're a really smart guy, you've got a lot of
Thank you.
insight. And honestly, I think in some ways it'll be fun because I think you'll learn the role of DPS a little bit more than you do right now. So that'll be
Straight up.
yeah.
Sorry, go on. You can keep if you have any more thoughts on what you'd like to achieve from this.
Keep complimenting you.
Yeah, you're straight up fucking doing all of the marketing of going, hey, yo, this is why I think is worth giving this guy money.
No, I mean, I've listened to you talk for, substantial amounts of time, and everything that you say makes a lot of sense. And I think, I don't know, I was once told by someone I was working with that if you look at a bookshelf and you say, are all of the answers like in this book or that book? It's never, some of the answers are in all of the books along the way, but sometimes what you really need is someone to help you like curate that knowledge and put it all together and things like that. And I think that that's kind of what I'm looking for, someone to like help analyze where I'm at, and just give some honest feedback about things that I can see, that I can't see. What are the important things to work on? What are the things to focus on? I just really have a lot of fun playing Overwatch, and I'd really like to, get to a meaningful rank and feel like I've done something, accomplished something with the time that I've put in. So that's why I'm coming to you, and have been.
Hell yeah. Well, first off, I gotta say, pointing to the metaphor you gave about the bookshelf and not needing someone to give you the answers directly, but needing someone to help guide you along the path of finding the answers, I think is indicative of why I am so fucking stoked to have you as my first premium coaching member here, because I've just noticed in general, you're like an adult and responsible and shit. 100%, like 90% of the struggles I've had over the years trying to improve just came from the fact that I was not a very developed, actualized person, and just needed to learn a lot of things about myself in order to enable me to even be able to start improving in the first place. And from what I've seen in how you talk in the Discord, the general points that you bring up when we're talking about your gameplay, all consistently point towards someone who has like the absolute fucking pristine, ideal mental attitude going into this to be able to actually legitimately make the most use of what I share, because I've been kind of prepping for this for fucking at least the past, how long has Overwatch been out? Like 2-3 years? Ever since I started becoming better at this game, I instantly started thinking about how I could...
October 23, I think. Late 23.
Okay, so 2.5 years then?
Yeah. You know what's funny? People don't call Overwatch Overwatch 2. They call it Overwatch. And they call Overwatch 1 Overwatch 1.
That is fun.
But nobody really acknowledges... Like, no, like people don't reference Overwatch 2, but they do reference Overwatch 1, which is funny because ultimately people do think of Overwatch 2
Yeah,
as Overwatch.
they have actually succeeded in their goals of redefining the game. Because I don't know, a lot of people get mad about the Overwatch 2 rebrand. And I get it if you're old school and don't understand that this game needs constant updates and balancing to be able to survive, and that shit costs money, and loot boxes weren't making that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they fucking had to do something to make it clear to everyone that, like, hey everyone, I know you haven't been paying attention since 2017, but like, we did fix Brig. Goats is not a thing anymore. That was the goal, is they'd made so many consistent fuck ups throughout Overwatch 1, where every single one with Brig, with double shield, every time they fucked up, there would be a portion of the player base that would leave and just not come back. If they heard someone say, hey, yo, it's good now, they wouldn't believe them and they wouldn't care. So Overwatch 2 was an opportunity to go, hey, we figured it out, come try it. And also 5v5 is fucking awesome and the best thing that's ever happened to the game. Oh, you lost again, Rimsky. That is unfortunate. Well, don't worry, just go ahead, stop. Direct your prayers towards Long Torb, and I guarantee Long Torb will bring you good fortune, fast queue times, and competent teammates. But to go back to what I was saying about what I'm excited about when it comes to working with you, first off, the last 2 years I have been hard fucking locked in trying to improve when it comes to my ability to translate my thoughts and my own understanding of the game, which is very abstract and has taken a very fucking long time to be able to put into words, and I still have a long way to go. I've spent a long time building up those skills, and even before I was good at Overwatch, I was wanting to do educational Warzone content back in the day. Every game I've ever played, I've wanted to get good at it so that I can teach people how to get good at it. So I've been preparing my entire life for this moment, and I'm really excited not just to have the opportunity to give it my all and show how far my coaching has come, but more importantly, I mentioned this in the forum thread, it's gonna be so sick to be able to like actually fucking talk about all the shit that I've got locked and loaded and ready to lecture about, because every single aspect of the game I've worked with Hart to try to break these things down. Hart, God bless his soul, has been very patient every step of the way. Every time I go, hey, do you want to hear my theory about ult trekking? And he's like, okay, I'm better at ult tracking than you, but sure, tell me. And helping me like refine these concepts and stuff. The thing is, when I'm going and helping new people out every single time, I'm either telling them, hey, lower your sensitivity, and giving the lecture on, you know, projecting your view out on your mouse pad and all that, or I'll give them the lecture on, hey, start thinking abstractly about your positioning and make an effort to be really precise with it. Think geometrically. That's lecture number 2. And the third one is, hey, become aware of this concept of pressure and how it relates to your ability to make good decisions, and start playing closer to cover so that when you start getting overwhelmed, you can duck into it. Just those 3 over and over on repeat. And it's hard to branch out, and I especially never get the chance to go and build up the connections between all those different concepts. Because ultimately what I've realized over the years is that you can frame an argument in such a way to make it sound as if any one of the fundamental skills that I talk about is actually the only single skill that matters, and every single other skill relies on that skill. And you know, you can really distill everything down to managing pressure, or learning how resource exchanges work, or a plethora of other things. And the reason for that is that they are all 100% interconnected. Every single skill is connected to every single other skill. Improving your positioning will make you better at decision making. Improving your decision making will make it easier for you to aim. I'll hold off on going on any of my long lectures right now, but we will get in one of these days, probably early on, into my topic on mental bandwidth and learning how to simplify your decision-making process to enable you to have the free space to go and think about things more critically. So I'm really excited for that. I'm also going back to, I think you are just generally motivated and well-suited such that I can be confident that you're actually going to put the time and effort in to get the most out of these. Catyr has already fully committed to put 2 hours of pure practice time in 5 days a week. So that is 10 hours, not of playing the game. That is in addition to an extra 2+ hours each day of just grinding ranked normally and having fun. But we are going to get the opportunity to actually go and build a proper training regiment, and tweak that over time, make modifications, and figure out how we can make the most efficient use of those 10 hours every single week. Because, oh my god, at any point in my life, if I could have ever convinced myself to actually sit down and hard grind 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and be consistent and not take months off at a time, if I ever managed that, it wouldn't have taken me so long to get to the point where I actually put the pieces together. Because just practicing consistently, especially in Overwatch, something about the flow of the game with how fast-paced it is, you benefit quite a bit just from consistency. Me and Hart joke often that anytime you take more than 2 or 3 days off from playing Overwatch, it almost feels like you have to relearn how to play the game every single time you come back. Which is true for many games, but I've found it to be especially true for Overwatch. So that consistency will lead you to great things. So last little bit of context for everyone out there. Catyr has agreed to pay me for coaching every other week, and his primary goal is, once this next season starts, he wants to become the most goatedest fucking Freya on the planet, and we're gonna get him there. I do truly believe that you have it in you to grind up, because I mean, you said you managed to freaking tear your way up to gold on Kiriko, right? Catyr? I think he may be AFK for the moment, so I'll just keep monologuing. When I first met Catyr, I gave him a small handful of my most prime Kiriko tips, and he went hard for like a week or two.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Howdy, howdy.
Yeah, what happened was I was Silver 5 in Kiriko, and I was just listening to you talk about positioning and aggression, and as I was listening to your stream, I ranked up from like, I think it was silver 4 to gold 5 just that night.
Holy shit, in a single night? Well played.
Yeah, I mean, you stream for a long time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't think I lost a single game that evening. Now,
nice.
I and like the thing is, I haven't been able to do that consistently, but honestly, just talking to you about it really helped me a lot, and it helped me even since then. There's just so many things to this game that it's hard for me to put it all together, and it's really interesting as well that you were saying in particular just that idea of like, oh well, the game, you could describe it as, well, the whole game is about pressure or aggression or positioning, and ultimately like that's what it kind of ends up feeling like to me in a lot of ways. But like trying to put all of that into something together to be able to practice all of the important things at the same time has been kind of challenging.
Yeah, I absolutely understand. There are many different paths that you can take, and that is something that I did struggle with quite a bit on my grind up, was being able to find my focus and my guiding star that would help me inform my decisions, because a lot of the time you'll have two different options for something that you could focus on, and you don't really have the context to be able to make a meaningful, educated decision on which might benefit you more. So effectively in those situations, it's kind of a coin flip, and you have to be able to find some way that you can make those decisions that are super unclear with some justification that can give you the confidence to know, hey, this is a good thing for me to be focusing on. I don't need to go and put time into the other thing. I'm gonna get as good as I can at this skill, at least for the next couple weeks, and then I'll reevaluate. So for me, my guiding star has consistently, I got lucky. The game handed me the guiding star because my initial grind up, I went from silver and I rocketed straight up to fucking diamond 4 in a couple weeks. And then as soon as I got diamond, my entire life, diamond has been my end goal. I have thought of diamond as the promised rank of anyone who is diamond is absolutely objective fucking Chad, and I want to be one of those. So as soon as I got into diamond, let me tell you, I got a little nervous, and I started to feel like, okay, I know that playing this way, trolling as Kiriko and going hard DPS is what got me here to diamond, but you know, this is the big leagues now. I can't mess around. I gotta go and play the support role correctly and help my team. And I tried that, and I tried being a more team player and playing a slower game based on just trying to slightly tilt the resource balance rather than having big impactful plays. And what I noticed is I fucking immediately stopped ranking up, and my win rate became 50-50, because if you only focus on healing, then you are going and healing people who are in your rank, who statistically are going to have a 50% win rate. And when you heal them, instead of having impact on your own, then any impact you have is the impact of that other gamer who is the same rank as you. So you're going to end up with a 50% win rate. I ended up figuring that out eventually, and I went, hey, let's just try damaging again. I grinded up to like diamond 1. Exact same thing. Okay, no, now I have to lock in, play correctly, adjust my play style drastically. Straight back to 50% win rate. I grinded up to Masters 3. And then I went, okay. Big leagues here. Now's the time when this Kiriko bullshit won't continue working. And yeah, I did that a handful of times until I eventually realized, yeah, no, there's a reason that I got to this rank, and this is what's going to get me out of this rank. If I'm struggling with my own playstyle that I believe in to rank up from beyond GM5 now, I hope to be able to go and grind up into the higher ranks of GM. If I can't do that, then it doesn't mean that there's something inherently wrong with my playstyle. It means that I have to learn how to win 1v1s against Grandmaster DPS players. And that is possible. So that has been my guiding star. And over the course of time, as we start to develop your playstyle, and getting a better understanding of what I call your internal understanding of the game, which is basically, the concept is, I don't believe that any two people think about the game in the same way. I think, you know, if you took the two most skilled players in the world, you'll absolutely be able to find a play on them where they disagree on what the correct decision to make would be. And they're the best players in the world. So obviously neither of them are wrong, and these different decisions can coexist. Because the great thing about first-person shooters is that at the end of the day, you can go and fuck up your positioning, make poor decisions, and end up in the right smack dab in the middle of the enemy team, dead to rights. But if you just lock in for a second, tense up your hands, and hit a couple headshots, you can just win those. And that is theoretically an incorrect play, and we're going to tend to try to avoid making any sort of decisions which are looking objectively not fights in our favor. But
sure,
if you can recognize the times when you need to bail yourself out of a situation, and use all the different tools at your disposal to turn situations that shouldn't be in your favor, then, you know, you can go and say, hey, this decision right here, it's a bad play objectively, but I feel like I'm going to hit the shots. And if you're feeling it and you go in and you hit the shots, as long as that was your intention and you recognize the problems with that play, but still decide based on, again, your internal understanding of the game and what you believe you can make happen, then it all works. Hey, Soren, no frame one. I actually freaking went live early today. Can you believe it? Very happy to see you drop by, though. Gamer, welcome. Happy Catter Day.
I think one thing that might be helpful for you to talk about, Kunai, is you've been talking about hero selection and role pool,
right,
or hero pool. It might be helpful. We've talked about that already, but like, I think one of the foundational things of what we want to talk about in this process is why it's important to have a limited hero pool.
Yeah, thank you, actually. Yo, I could not have asked for a better gamer to coach, but hero pool specifically is a really interesting point to bring up, because I made a little bit of an oopsie when we were talking about it, and I asked him straight up if he would like to hard one trick Freja and not play any other heroes. And then I went beyond that and I was like, I figure that's probably not your vibe, so maybe go ahead. How do you feel about playing Freja and Sombra? And Catter instantly correctly pointed out, hey, aren't there going to be hero bans in like 2 fucking weeks? Does that not change any of the strategies that you've talked about related to hero selection, and might you want to go and not encourage people to one-trick popular heroes? And I realized,
and why is a limited hero pool important for the viewers at home? Why is it important to have a limited number of heroes that you play, as opposed to like picking a number of heroes and trying to work around the situations, as opposed to just saying, okay, every situation, like this is where I use Junkrat, this is where I use Farah, and like clearly you're not going to use everybody, but you've got like you're trying to win games off half the hero pool. What's the disadvantage of doing that?
yeah, that is actually a really important topic that I think gets at kind of the core of my philosophy when it comes to improving, and it all comes down to time efficiency. I remember sometime last year I went and I coached this one guy who was fire, went and grinded his ass off so he could retire early, and he was like, hey, I'm retired, I can put 16 hours a day into grinding games if I want. How do I get better? What do I do in order to rank up as quickly as possible? I play every single hero in the game, and I've noticed really, really common for most people that I talk to who haven't put this thought into it before. Most people tend to try to go and play as many heroes as they possibly can, because I do think that the design of the game kind of encourages you to do so in a way. Because obviously having the right hero pick can just straight up be the factor that clinches a W for you, even if you don't have like a higher level of skill. Just making that one decision can be so fucking important. And also, it's a hero shooter, and there's a bunch of really fucking cool, different, unique heroes, and you want to have fun going and playing them all and trying out their different play styles, because it's a video game and you're trying to enjoy yourself. But a small aspect of trying to improve and actually taking the game seriously, you do have to accept that you will enjoy yourself a little bit less. You'll have to make some decisions where you're like, okay, it'd be really fun to jump into the middle of that team and see if I can cause some chaos with Junkrat, but that'd be dumb as fuck. Let's not. It starts as basic as that, and your hero pool ties into that, because I can see why many people would enjoy playing many different heroes. That's how I used to play, is I would mostly play Junkrat, and then it wouldn't work and I'd try every other fucking hero in the game. But what I had to explain to this guy who was retired and willing to put 16 hours a day in every single day is that he is a human being with a physical body and mind. And that no matter how much free time he had, he would not be able to extract more than 24 hours from a single day, and more importantly, he probably wouldn't be able to get much serious practice during those hours beyond like 8 or so, without just straight up guaranteeing some repetitive stress injuries, and nothing will hurt your progress in the long term more than an injury can. When I got real deep carpal tunnel, I had to play controller only for like a fucking year. And it was emotionally devastating, and also basically just fully press a pause button on my ability to improve. So you got those 8 hours, you got to make the best use out of them. There's like 40 fucking heroes in this game, and this is not Valorant, where all the heroes, you know, the difference between Agent A and Agent B is the sparkle that their smokes let off or something. Because in Valorant, everyone has the same core kit, the same movement controller, and any like crazy abilities that let you do something very different than you could do on any other hero. Those are all on super long cooldowns, very limited resource that aren't going to be there in every single fight. Most fights, there's no utility, and you just kind of shoot them in the head. In Overwatch, we have a character called Wrecking Ball. Catter, have you ever played any ball?
Little bit.
It's like an entirely different fucking video game, right? Like, you're not even playing a first-person shooter. You're playing a wild-ass movement simulator game that feels like it could have killed on the PS2. Would you agree?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, completely different than anything else on Overwatch, but also many other video games.
100%. Every single hero in Overwatch, to me, feels like playing an entirely different video game. And there's tons of crossover. But one thing I've noticed as I've improved is the crossover skill between heroes becomes much easier to access and make use of once you have improved further. When you're still at the start of your journey and you're trying all these different freaking heroes, try to find the perfect one for every single situation. You're just not going to put very much time into any of those heroes, and since you still haven't had the time to go and learn these concepts and learn how to apply the skills from you learn from one hero to another, when you're starting to learn every hero, you're starting from a blank slate. I think I'm aight at Zenyatta. There's some shit I need to learn, but like, I've spent way too much fucking time thinking about the core concepts, fundamentals of like positioning and projectile aim, and I've been able to make use of that on Zen. And playing Zen has given me the opportunity, bless you, given me the opportunity to think about my positioning in more precise terms and really force myself to try to play perfectly. But if you don't even... Okay, let me back up. I'm getting a little... I think I was about to repeat the same argument for like the third time in a row.
So
I think the details are there. It's
yeah.
about making sure to take the time that you spend in game and spend that time. I picked up where I was going. Sorry for cutting you off. But
no, you're good.
We want to take our limited practice time, especially if you're like an adult with a job and you're not that dude trying to grind 16 hours a day. You want to focus on learning how to play 1 or 2 video games rather than going and learning how to become good and highly ranked in 30 different video games at the same time. You know, if someone told you, hey, I'm really focused right now on grinding up rank in Fortnite, Valorant, CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, Paladins, Marvel Rivals, Hearthstone, and the latest Call of Duty, you'd be like, that sounds fucking dumb. Don't do that. But in Overwatch, if you just say, hey, I'm learning these, you know, half of the support cast is one thing I hear from people a lot. You don't think twice about it, but you do have to start framing it as entirely different skill sets that you are, in some aspect, going to have to start from a blank slate. So that's the first most important reason. The second reason, though, this is the argument for not just having a reduced hero pool, but the reason why I am a one trick and why in 17 days I am going to get absolutely fucked into the dirt, and I'll be washed and I'll be hard stuck diamond until I solve my problem. Because bans are gonna annihilate me. But there are strategies to work around those. And the main core reason why I'll stop saying you should one trick, but why you should hard main a specific hero and try to put as much of your time as possible into just one, is not just because it's a better use of your time, but more importantly, because you will be presented with situations wherein another hero has a much clearer, easier path to being able to deal with the threats that you're running into on the enemy team. So like whatever hero that you like picking to deal with a Widow, for example. Say you like going Sombra when you're getting fucked on by a Widow, but you're a Sojourn main. Every time you go and pick Sombra, you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to try your hand at solving a very fun, very beneficial puzzle where, you know, it's not Overwatch 1 anymore. We're in 2025, and honestly, they have done a pretty good job of achieving their goal of making sure that there are soft counters in this game, but very few actual hard counters. No matter what the matchup is, there are strategies that you can use, and things that you can do in order to make it work. And by sticking with your main, and locking in on that and not letting the fact that it might be a suboptimal matchup deter you, then you will just get many, many more opportunities to do these strategic puzzles that are, one, very, very engaging, and two, more than any other situation in the game, provide you with interesting, unique questions that, if you can find the answer to those questions, will have an outsized impact on your gameplay. So that's why go with a smaller hero pool. One is because you do not have infinite time and you just can't play them all. But two, because doing so and taking the hard matchups, everyone gets mad at the fucking Doomfist players that are getting countered out of their mind every game. And you go, why the fuck does he not switch? And it's because not switching's how he got that rank, you know?
Absolutely.
I do think everything I just said are things that you are already aware of and agree with. So I don't imagine you have any questions after that, do you?
No.
Okay, I have some ideas of where we could take this, but if you have
no, go
any
ahead.
way you want to direct this, no. Absolutely. 100%. Just in terms of setting expectations, so that you know how I expect you to respond to this coaching. Your word is law here. 100%. Absolutely, at any point, feel free to go and stop me and take the floor. Most of the things that I talk about in these coaching sessions are almost always, like I said, very heavily pre-prepared arguments that I've spent a lot of time on. So generally, if you interrupt me through any of these, you actually don't have to worry about completely derailing my train of thought. as long as you can say, hey, you were on this part.
Sure.
So
I'll just by the time we're done, I'll have all the pages of your speeches memorized.
straight
We'll
up.
we'll have it all we'll have it all coded. We'll put it in a binder. We'll publish a book.
That's what I'm most excited for, is to actually fucking get to talk about all this shit, because I've been wanting forever to go and just do them all as YouTube videos, but that's hard. Streaming's easy. Straight up, being able to go and press a button and instantly start getting feedback from what I'm doing, it lines up with my ADHD and makes this a task which I am able to succeed in, where in YouTube I struggle.
Well, I think you're going to end up with a lot of content that could be helpful for the YouTube audience, but also not only for me, but for everybody else here. But I think you going over some of these things will be helpful for other people to digest this as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm very excited for, which is why 100% 2 years from now, if I'm sitting on 1,000 subs, you can absolutely go and say, I did that. Because these coaching sessions, and especially your willingness to not only allow me, but to help me even tailor the coaching sessions in such a way that they can help out the YouTube channel and the Twitch channel, is going to be so huge. And just the fact that I can go and spend time throughout the week going and preparing lesson plans, making instructional materials like diagrams or worksheets. The fact that I can spend my time doing that during the week, knowing that it is an agreement that I have made and will be compensated for, is very motivating. And I can go and channel that to be able to, what is it? To allow myself to go and put far more fucking effort into a single coaching session or VOD review than I ever have before. Because it's really hard to go and think of all these concepts and try and organize them in a really great, fantastic way with a little bow on top, if my goal is to just go and post it to my YouTube where it'll probably get 100 views. That's not motivating. So having the instant gratification to satisfy my ADHD is going to get us over the hump, get us some YouTube content, get us some absolutely amazing high quality educational stream content.
Hopefully it will give you some instant gratification, because I know that can be really challenging with the way that your brain works. But there's also certain aspects of it that you can think about, like Overwatch and life in general. And you just talking about ranking up and the process it is, and doing small
pause?
things.
You're talking about how all these things we do relate to life, and that is one thing I really, really heavily want to emphasize, is that the skills that you are building up to rank up are not video game specific skills. They are life skills. They are self-actualization skills that will not only make you a better gamer, but will straight up make you a better person. But sorry, go on.
And I was going to say as well, for you thinking about this, as far as, like Twitch, Discord, whatever it might be, it's good to remember there was a time you were back in silver, and then you grew, but you saw those things small and incrementally. Well, some of that you saw small and incrementally, like clearly the large growth happened all at once, but there were things that led up to that, things that you did that got you to a point. And you can look at that with your channel and things like that too. You look at how many subscribers you've got now, and you're seeing little bits of growth in life and you're starting to rank up, and maybe it'll just come quickly. We'll see. Maybe more of it'll just come quickly. But, there's all sorts of ways you can analyze doing this sort of thing about how it can help you in life with your emotional, spiritual,
Yeah.
psychological state, whatever it might be.
That's why I often bring up on stream the fact that I honestly do attribute the factor that was able to get me over that final hump from Masters into GM was going to therapy and then going and taking the extra step further to go and actually seek help and get a psychiatrist and properly medicate for my ADHD. Like, just straight up focusing on getting my mental health to the best spot that it can be, and just being healthier is the biggest thing that helped me rank up. Because one kind of cliche thing that I don't mention hardly ever, but I probably should mention a lot, you'll hear from all sorts of coaches out there that the most important thing for you to do is to go and get good restful sleep with a consistent sleep schedule, to be eating well, to be drinking enough water, to be avoiding drinking too much caffeine, avoiding drinking too much alcohol. And also another one is exercise is super important. Every single tier 1 professional esports organization out there, every single one of them has a personal trainer on staff, and they contractually require their players to go and spend some time, at least a couple times a week, doing some light exercise, which, that's not the gamer thing. We're supposed to be locked in our chairs freaking grinding. But just general health and well-being is going to have a far bigger impact on your ability to perform well and your ability to improve than just about anything else that I could do or tell you. But I don't bring that up as often as I should, because I'm talking to gamers, and I know that if I tell them to drink less caffeine and sleep consistently and don't stay up until 4 a.m., they're not fucking gonna. And I didn't, and I made it work. But doing my good deed here, this is your encouragement to everyone watching right now that you should go and pay attention to your health. If you don't want to do it for you, if you don't care about just generally feeling better, being in a better mood, having more energy, and living longer, if you don't care about that, then at the very least, go and treat your body well and prioritize your health so that you can rank up in video games, because we all know that's far more important. Sorry,
I think there's a little bit of all of that in there. But one thing I was also thinking is, do you think there's an optimal time of the day that one should be playing? Or how do you feel like there's an ebb and flow of people at certain times of the day that...
I've actually spent a decent amount of time researching and experimenting with this. You can find people out there, coaches, who will say, hey, this is the scientific research that says that you should be playing in the morning or playing in the evening or something along those lines. Anytime any gaming coach out there says, hey, this is the scientific research that backs up my claim, you should generally be very fucking suspicious of that claim and not believe it too readily. You can agree with them and say, hey, the conclusion that you have reached seems correct to me and vibes with the way I see things, but absolutely do not let yourself agree with the methodology with which they reach that conclusion, because they don't know how to fucking read research papers, and especially when it comes to studies on psychology and skill acquisition, we're not fucking there. We don't know shit about the brain. We're very, very slowly learning. And I do try to reference
I say that
science
to people all
anytime
the
it's
time.
helpful.
We don't know anything about how the brain works. Not really. I mean,
100%
we know a good deal. The scientists know a good deal more than the general populace does. But what scientists know is how much we don't know.
Especially so. This is kind of an aside, but a little bit of context into my past. Back when I was 19, so that would have been back in 2017, I started getting interested in the field of machine learning, and I went and made a post on Reddit saying, hey, is anyone out there interested in going ahead and working with me on trying to build some sort of cool machine learning project? My thought process was that I was 19 and I thought that I was the shit, and I was convinced that I would definitely be able to go and build some crazy, amazing, revolutionary program that would go and let me get a high-paying computer science job without ever stepping into a college. I was wrong, but along the way, I think I ended up having initially like fucking over 50 respondents after the first wave of being like, hey, yo, fucking there's way too many people here for us to even make use of. If you're not like super into it, get out. Even after that, we still had about 25 fucking people in this group who I had all somehow fucking convinced that I knew what I was doing and could be trusted to lead. And it gave me an incredible fucking opportunity to speak with a bunch of legitimately experienced, like, senior developers actively working on machine learning projects in industry.
Sometimes all you need to do to get into a position of leadership is be willing to lead.
Yeah, that is 100% all it is. And I don't know, I've noticed over the years, mostly from more casual interactions, like especially my time playing VR chat, that people just like don't really want to go and put the effort of planning things and trying to coordinate between different people, because there is a lot of fear of rejection that can come along with that. So it's a lot easier to just go and let someone else do that. And the amount of people out there who are willing to put in the time to try to bring people together is very low. So just doing that and being able to go, hey, yo, I was straight up for weeks waking up early so that I could attend our weekly meetings at some weird hour because almost everyone in the group was fucking EU. But what I was getting at is this is back long before LLMs, just shortly after, for anyone who is familiar with the subject, the advent of convolutional neural networks after the release of AlexNet, which is where we got the first successful approaches to doing image recognition with machine learning and categorization. And that was kind of what really convinced people to start spending billions of dollars on this shit. So it was very hype. Things were moving very, very fast. And I remember realizing back then, oh God, the troubles that we have with understanding and quantifying what is actually happening inside of these algorithms are the exact same problems that we have trying to understand our brain. Hey, D-Bun, hey yo. Welcome, gamer. I'm glad you're able to stop by. Happy Catterday. Me and MadCatyr here are going and building up a plan for his bi-weekly coaching sessions that we're going to be doing and that are going to become a mainstay in this stream. I think it is going to significantly elevate the quality of our educational content here. So I hope you're excited. But like I was saying, we don't fucking know how neural networks work. We just know that there is some correlation of different effects going on in there that encodes meaning in a way that we will never be able to understand. As far as I'm aware, there's no one on the planet who can just do 600 dimensional math in their head. And it's the exact same thing in our brain. They do actually work shockingly similarly in that specific parts of the network go and build up paths and connections in such a way that they can encode very efficient methods of doing very simple, direct tasks very efficiently. So one example I really like using is if you play a lot of first-person shooters, there's some tiny little part in your brain that can go look at a screen, look at a person on that screen you want to shoot, and then instantly go and calculate, okay, so this person right here, based on where they are in my field of view, that means they are off like 2 inches to the right and 1 inch above where my crosshair is right now. And then based on that, I know that I now need to move my hand, half an inch to the right and a 1/4 inch up, or something along those lines. This has been one of my less helpful tangents. I just got excited to finally bring up the fact that I fucking spent 6 goddamn months doing nothing but reading machine learning PhD theses until I actually did start to understand the shit. I'm proud of that. I didn't do anything with that knowledge moving forward, and that project fucking blew up in flames. So we can move on, and I can go back to pretending that never happened.
I think that one important part of what you said was the idea that the brain picks things up in small increments.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with what you're about to talk about as far as coaching goes.
Yeah, that is my classic instinct lecture that I'm sure anyone who's been here more than a handful of times, you've definitely heard me talk about.
I think a good example.
Sorry, go on.
What one example might be, just for example, one thing that I did, and I started at like a really base level, no esports background, no competitive shooter background whatsoever. It took me a month to be able to register what was going on the kill feed.
Yep.
But I would intentionally, for as long as I could, for as long as my brain would allow, like every time I heard the ding, like, okay, I hear the ding. Look, who did we lose?
Turn the ding on? Anyone out there, if you haven't turned the sounds on, they're not on by default. Go into your sound settings, turn on play sound when enemy eliminated and play sound when ally eliminated. With zero effort, you will get better at the game. Go on.
I might even suggest that at some point you take people through the options of the game.
That's a good idea.
So that people, that could be a good, mini stream by itself. What are the important things? How many people don't have Dolby? Oh yeah, but how many people don't have Dolby turned on? And how many, there are texts on certain characters that you can only do with non-default settings. For example, Echo's super jump.
Yeah.
You cannot do
or Kiriko's default settings. By default, every single time you press right click, you are locked into healing animation for the whole of Fuda. It's horrible.
And
Go on.
I know that Hart said there's no tech that you actually need, and
Yeah.
I understand where that's coming from, but like
Get every little
Echo's
bit you
super
can.
jump is really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard. You know, like it puts your flight on cooldown quicker and things like that. But unless you change the settings, you could discover it accidentally if you didn't if it was default settings. But the way that it is, you're only going to find that tech if you go in and mess with the settings. And so I do that on anyone that I play.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're playing Widow, Widow's default relative scope sensitivity is incorrect. One of these days I can go into the math of what a correct relative sensitivity is and explain how focal length scaling works. But assume I'm right and just go ahead, open up your Widow settings, set relative sensitivity to 37.89 and set the same setting to 37.89 for Ana. Because if you don't, then every time you scope in, your sensitivity is wrong and will not feel as closely tied to what your normal default sensitivity would be at any given moment. So I'm sorry, I do want to catch up with chat because there's some conversations going on. Yeah, I don't fucking know why people aren't showing up in the chat. It's really annoying, and I actually probably ought to just go and swap it out with a chat that fucking works. Because that would be trivial. And I don't know why I didn't do that last night.
Someone's asking whether or not Ash has the same issue, and she does as well. But I think her sensitivity is. I think her
52
sensitivity
something.
And Freya's. I'm not sure if they had even fully.
Yeah.
I couldn't find that at the time of her release.
Okay, looks like 57.8 is the correct value for Ash. I did not mention Ash directly there because I just didn't know the number off the top of my head. Oh, frick, it scrolled me back down. Just be looking at your crosshair and missing everything. We'll go into that and how you want to direct your visual focus in the future, but generally you don't really want to be looking at the crosshair. You want to look through the crosshair. When you see someone pop up on the top right of your screen, my recommendation is to not just take in that visual information in your peripheral vision and like attend to it mentally. I suggest you actually go and physically move your eyeballs so that they are pointing and directly focused on the thing that you are trying to hit. There's a very specific reason for that. The reason you want to do that is that it's the sense of proprioception, which is your body's ability to sense the positioning of all of your different body parts. It is what ends up causing people to get phantom limb pain. I've experienced a little bit of phantom tooth pain, which is fucking horrible. I cannot imagine having that for like a hand. But because of your proprioception, your body knows the exact fucking angle that your eyes are pointed. And the systems in your brain that control your ability to focus on objects are much, much lower level, built deeper into your soul than any of the other things that we'll ever be discussing. It is very complex, straight up calculus that you are able to do in a single millisecond, and you are doing every single millisecond fucking constantly. Every single moment you have your eyes open. So because of that, like, I mean, just aim train with your eyeballs. It's easy. If you go and you try to look at a thing, you'll look at a thing spot on every time without very much effort on your part. So
Part of me was
go
you've
on.
been thinking about you've been talking about this. We talked about this on the last VOD review that you did for me.
Yeah, I did.
But one of the ways that I've kind of been thinking about it is like you can move your eyeballs, but moving your hand, it kind of developing the flick technique is kind of making me think of like a toddler learning to walk or something. You
Yeah.
know, the eyeballs know what to do, but the hand still needs to catch up to that. But like I'm also like, you know, I reload too much. There's certain which I think a lot of people have that issue. You know, it just gives you
Yeah.
something to do. You know, but there's those things that are just like, oh, I've been doing this so long, trying to do it a different way, and like doing the flick, looking directly is something that I've really learned. Like, oh, it's not that quote hard to do, but you really have to be intentional about thinking to do it, remembering to do it. At least for me, and I feel like one of the things you're going to talk about is like, you know, you work on stuff like that, and that becomes a building block. That becomes something that
Yep.
foundational. That I
You
like you were.
predicted the
I thought,
automaticity lecture.
yeah. I see your logic.
But to finish up that point, so everyone out there can understand what I mean and actually see the value in consciously using your eyes like that. And I do like that you brought up the difficulty required to actually do that, because the thing is, moving your eyes is an instant automatic process that takes zero effort. But in order to do that, it has to get the command from somewhere. And there are many, many different spots in your brain that can go and send that command. My general theory is all these different specialized structures that we have in our brain, like the structure that lets us hit 6 shots, or the structure that makes us sad. All of them basically just kind of broadcast out their conclusions to everyone, and then every other structure in your brain takes those in, and if the data it gets in looks similar to, hey, this is the type of thing that I am built to go and transform this type of data, then it'll go and do so, and then it'll send out its output. Any of those structures can go and send the signal to your eyes to make you go, hey, Rock Kitten, howdy, howdy. Thank you for stopping by. Welcome to the place. I'm doing a little bit of one-on-one coaching with my friend MadCatyr here. And he is going above and beyond to bring my standards up and make sure that I am delivering the highest quality educational content that I possibly can. So if that interests you and you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if you drop a follow. Where was I? Eyeballs. So there are many, many ways that you can go and build up this ability to make that initial decision to go and look at what you're trying to aim. But as soon as you do, we've got this next structure in our brain that is going to be used to figure out how to parse the visual information on screen and translate that into commands to send to our muscles to be able to go and make the correct movements to hit the flick. And by going and moving your eyeballs, you're adding in your sense of proprioception and your body's innate fucking understanding of the exact angle your eyes are looking. And that is going to end up naturally becoming an extra data point for that structure that tells you how far you need to flick.
Rock Kitten just made a comment. Hopefully, they're saying hopefully they can even learn something from this on console.
Absolutely.
But I do think it's. I think the general idea of looking first, whether you're using a mouse or a stick, I think that's helpful either way.
I would agree. The actual technique that you use to translate that is going to be different. I went into a long rant last night about how drag scoping is a fucking horrible habit that absolutely no mouse aimer should ever find themselves doing. It is correct to do on controller. But, you know, we don't care about the actual raw mechanics. We care about understanding our minds, and figuring out how to mold them to help us improve as much as possible. And Rock Kitten, you wouldn't even be the first console gamer here. I've got, in the forums, there's a post sitting there for someone who is hoping to get, they'll probably be the next one to get a VOD review from me, breaking down their console gameplay, and it'll be a good experience for me and give me additional context, and help me learn to see more perspectives and force me to find new ways to explain things, force me to do theory crafting. So yeah, 100%. Console, PC, any rank, any role, you are welcome here. Join the Discord down below. Go on.
They say that people at high ranks on console, like the people who are really good with controllers, generally can be pretty close to good enough to challenging people on PC because they've just learned that craft so well.
Especially
But
one thing I've noticed is console players have a tendency, I'm sorry to cut you off. Console players have a tendency, because their input method limits them in certain ways, they end up having an exceptional understanding of crosshair placement and centering because they cannot reactively flick. And so they can't use the mouse as a crutch. So there are many skills, and we'll develop them all. Sorry for cutting you off. Go on.
Oh no, that's all that I was saying. That's all that I was saying.
For sure. Okay, I think I've logged in the proprioception. The one other thing I want to say
is asking about aim training workshops, which I think one of the that's an important question, because one of the things that you want me to do over the next few months. I think maybe you were thinking of a different.
No, you're
language
on the
or
right
something.
track.
You were shaking your head.
I think
no.
it's worth it for you in this specific situation, but I'm always going to be very reluctant to ever tell anyone to put even a minute into training their aim. I want every single person out there to understand that no matter how fucking bad it is, your aim is not holding you back, and it never will. Every single second that you spend in the game just playing ranked is effectively aim training. Let me go ahead, pop into the practice range real quick. So I mentioned crosshair placement. It's a very important skill. You want to be, in order to be able to improve as fast as possible, one of the very first things you ever want to focus on, the first skill you want to develop, is your ability to have perfect intentional crosshair placement 100% of the time. Because you see, as I'm moving around the map, every time I turn a corner, I'm instantly pointing my crosshair to the next corner, and then as I'm strafing around, I'm having to do slight adjustments to be able to keep my crosshair locked on that position that is the optimal position we've decided where we want to place our crosshair. And so the effect of that is, if you are intentional with your crosshair placement 100% of the time, then that means you are aim training by just walking around the map. That's helping you build up all those systems in your brain, helping you build a feeling for your mouse, and most importantly, helping you be efficient with your time, going back to what we were talking about earlier, because you are in game, so you're not just trying to aim as well as you can, but you are also really primarily engaged in the process of trying to have good awareness, trying to make good decisions, trying to parse the current game state through your internal understanding of the game, and come to a decision that agrees with that. So it's 2 for 1. You'll improve your decision making, and that will help you quite a bit in the long run. And also, guaranteed after a year or two, your aim's going to feel a lot better, even if you don't spend a single minute practicing your aim. But I absolutely do feel why you may have been confused, because I am 100% giving some conflicting details to you. So I want to address that. Aim training is worth it. Go on.
Yeah. The sense that I'm getting is you want me to do the aim training because I don't flick basically at all.
I mean, it's not even necessarily that. It's mostly just because of the specific point you are at when it comes to learning first-person shooters. Because I believe that there are very specific times where you can have an outsized impact by aim training and actually have it be a super beneficial thing. The first time that is for everyone out there is after you've spent about a year or so on the mouse, or I assume this would probably also apply to controller. But once you've gotten a year of experience aiming with a mouse, you have built up enough structures in your brain to be able to go and be doing that process somewhat automatically, which means, one, you have clay to mold. If you're brand new to aiming, there's going to be no point hopping into Kovacs, because you're not, what are you improving? You just need to fucking play games more and build that foundation of just having a basic feel for moving your mouse around. And the thing is, the process of really hard focusing in on your aim for, I personally would recommend, I'm gonna fucking get rid of this goddamn automation that keeps longing the torb. I want to keep him small. A little bit of a non sequitur, but we're getting there. Gameplay shown. Hide counters, show counters, frick. Where is it? Overwatch focused. Go, hide source clone. Switch gameplay. Yeah, let's go ahead. Delete that. Sorry, that absolutely was not related to anything, but the torb becoming big every time I tabbed in was pissing me off. Where was I?
We were talking about aim training, and
right.
the point, basically what you're saying is
why I want you to aim now.
There's a point in every young man's life in which they discover aim labs.
No, 100%. I actually fucking love putting it that way, and I think I am going to try to go out of my way to use the phrasing, there's a point in every young man's life, because I think being able to phrase things in ways that are more fun and also that tie into generally well-known like turns of phrase and stuff, I think that can be very effective when it comes to making the information more engaging, because holy shit, I can be boring.
Yeah, I really hate cliches, but they can work really well in some occasions.
Yeah, that's also why when I describe how to do the correct technique for flicking with a fast initial flick and then a smooth micro adjustment, that's why I always call the fast initial flick aping the flick. I don't say try to flick as fast as you possible, or as fast as you possibly can. I don't use any other way to describe it other than ape the flick, because I think that just does a really good, effective job of making you understand, like, on an emotional level. When, you know, when it comes to mechanics, that's what's important. But there's a point.
And I think that's a really, I honestly do think that was a really good descriptor, and I've been thinking about that throughout the last week.
That's not mine. I think it's probably Bardo's, if I were to guess, where I heard that term from. Who is one of the greats.
Make use of anything like that you can.
Yeah. Gotta give myself credit and acknowledge I try to take inspiration from any source that I can. And if I see some good information out there that I find helpful, 100%, I always want to go and lock that into my mind and hold it handy for when someone's trying to understand that topic. And I'll give myself credit for the ability to recognize good tips, I suppose. Sorry, I don't know why I'm sucking my own dick all of a sudden, but the specific reason why I want you to train AIM Labs is there's a certain point in every young man's life where he discovers AIM Labs, and that initial process of discovery can be one of the most educational experiences that you can have in shooters, because you've built up the foundation. You think you know how to use a mouse. The fucking instant you hop in AIM Labs, you're gonna realize, oh shit, there are people hitting scores that are inhuman to me.
Yeah. I hopped in Kovacs the other day, and I was, you know, I was in the 25th percentile.
Yeah, that's not uncommon. And if you go and you watch like the actual world record attempts at like some of the more difficult scenarios in aim trainers, it's fucking insane what these people have molded themselves to be able to do. So first off, there's just that initial motivation and perspective of going, oh hey, aim is a thing that you can consciously try to improve. These people have done it, and it can become so much better than I am now. So it will just plant the seed in your head of like, yeah, no, I'm actually gonna listen to that tip that he gave the other day about how you should always be focusing more than anything on having 100% intentional crosshair placement every single millisecond of the game. Because I know if I do that, then I can see why that would go and make me a better aimer, and that's something I want. So there's that, just the perspective. But more importantly, the process.
And I do like those little things that you can do, just like while you're in the spawn room or whatever, or something that you can do with your time to be helpful and not just, you know, going around emoting.
That was you that I spent 15 minutes VOD reviewing your actions at spawn, right? That was fucking hilarious. I mean, I'm proud of that.
It was not my actions in spawn. It was me moving my crosshair from one hero to another. It was less than a second. I think
just from that,
I think you're underselling. I think you're underselling my actions in spawn. No, it was literally just like, I saw you moving your crosshair. Let me monologue about that for 15 minutes.
Yeah, straight up. He was doing the classic thing where you aim between two of your teammates.
I think you went back and replayed my flick.
That was legendary.
3 or 4 times. Yeah. You're like, is this?
Was that in the last 2 weeks? Because honestly, Kunai spends 15 minutes analyzing 2 seconds of gameplay in spawn before the round starts. You know, that but more concise sounds like a fucking killer YouTube title. So I gotta go ahead and clip that. So I mean, just that. Sorry, let me catch up because I do see we got some chatting. Started doing aim training, for some reason you don't rank up. Don't worry about it. We're talking about aim right now. I don't want you to think that the fact that we are talking about aim implicitly means that you ought to care about aim. You shouldn't. And if there's one thing that I can get into every single one of your heads out there right now, is that there's a time and a place, and if you're not certain that that time for you to go and focus on aim is now, don't think about it. Never question, hey, is my aim the thing that's holding me back? Never ask, hey, how much better would I be if I just hit every shot? Because the fact of the matter is, I could go and look at every single one of your VODs, and I guarantee every single time you die, I could go and point out, hey, if you hit this shot, and this shot, you'd win. And if you allow yourself to look at the game like that, where you say, hey, if I just hit that shot, it would have gone my way, then you will never be able to actually find the answer, because the answer will always be I missed. And that's just not helpful.
It'd still be nice to do, though.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, like, I personally am actively now trying to focus more on aiming, because I've recognized, shit, I don't remember how long ago this was, but I played one game on Colosseo in GM5 where I played against this Kiriko player that was fucking scary. I ended up dueling them on the flank like 3 or 4 different times because they're a real gamer and they know what's up, so they're also trying to go and hit the flank every single fight. And every fucking time they did, they would hit the first 2 shots and kill me. And it was like absurd for me to even try to understand the amount of impact they were having with those knives and how they were even able to do that. And by the end of the game, that player had, I think, 5 times my elims and over 3 times my damage. But the important thing is we were the same rank, so even though they had great aim, I did win and recognized that I needed to adjust my approach with how I dealt with them, and I put all of my focus into making sure my ults were as perfect as they possibly could be, and so I was able to overcome it. And going through that just made me stop and think, like, hold up, imagine if I could go and have all these saves and these really good well thought out ults, but then also hit the shots that guy did. I'd be fucking the GOAT. So that's my next goal. Okay, like to flick shot, pretty easy to apply, just got to be mindful, start doing aim training, don't rank up. Last time I got coached, they told me you need to work on ability cooldowns and positioning. They're probably right. That's from the VODs that I've gone and looked at. I've complained earlier that doing VODs for anyone who rolls through ends up with me repeating the same thing, 3 things over and over and over. So yeah, you do probably have room to work on your cooldown usage and positioning. And I know that for a fact because I'm a GM5 Kiriko 1 trick, and I have room to work on my ability usage and positioning, because these are skills that are uncapped and have infinitely high skill ceilings. You can always position just 1 inch better, you know? Aim labs always surprised me. Actively training your aim, and it really pushed the starting bar for me. Yeah, straight up, it gives you... So the reason that I think someone should actually actively train aim is that it gives you a period of time where there are no distractions, so that you can actually think more deeply about what is going on. Try to understand this process from eyeball to brain to flick. And it's just really easy to get really super introspective. It also makes you position like the biomechanics of your aim, which will encourage you to have better posture, which you fucking should have, because it'll make you a better aimer. And dear God, I needed to sit up there. But yeah, that's why I think now is your time to lock in on the aim training. Not because aim training is inherently good, And not even necessarily because I think you ought to want the results of your aim becoming better from aim labs, because I do not think the improvements that you get from aim labs are real improvements. Which is to say, if I go and I played aim labs every single day for the next month, I would end up having what I would call practiced aim, which is just what happens when you go and consistently reinforce the same skills every single day over a long period of time. You're not building any new pathways in your brain, but you are reinforcing the pathways that you already have and kind of cleaning up the muck in them so that they can work more efficiently and faster. Practiced aim is awesome, and it's kind of a fucking cheat code because anyone can go play aim labs 30 minutes a day for 2 months if you want to be extra with it, and you'll feel like a robot. You will start hitting flicks that you could not imagine. But I don't call it real improvement because it is not making any sort of lasting change in your brain. The benefits that you get from aim labs are sick, and you will objectively have good aim. But as soon as you go and you take a break for 2 weeks, as soon as you are out of practice and you allow yourself to get rusty, that goes away. And there is an aspect, you know, just like building up muscle, it does come back easier the next time. But not that easy. If you go and you take 2 weeks off, it's going to take a month before your aim feels back up to the same level. And I always want to be focusing on skills that are lasting, because I remember, shit, this must have been back in like 2015 or something. I saw his comment on Reddit that was like, the thing is, if you are good at Counter-Strike, then you will always be good at Counter-Strike. And even if you take multiple years off, as soon as you come back, you will still have the core fundamental skills that you need to perform well, even if you're not able to go and hit the greatest shots, because you've built the good fundamental habits to go and hey Heart, what is up gamer, thank you for stopping by. How you doing, cutie? Aim labs do be free, on God. Oh whoa. How are you doing, Heart? Oh whoa. But yeah, I want to focus on skills that you can go and take a year off from the game and that skill will still be with you. So having very practiced aim is not real improvement, but these shorter bursts of concentrated aim training at impactful moments can actually give you that real improvement that we're looking for. Because rather than just building up your ability to mechanically flick on heads like a robot, you are really reflecting on the mechanics of the movement, so that if you went and you take 2 months off, then you can go sit down, play another game, and realize, oh, I'm missing my shots. Oh, it's because I'm not positioning my body in the most optimal way. Or like, oh, I need to go and slow down. I need to give my aim a little shake every once in a while, to be able to reset when I am getting overwhelmed. Just Evie from work, I am fucking certain that is the case, and I am heckin' snuggos forever. I really hope that you're able to get some good heckin' rest tonight. Obviously, if you would like to play any Overwatch while I'm streaming, you're more than welcome. But I don't think that's the vibe you're in. So I am happy that you were able to stop by, and I hope I can keep you company and give you a little bit to chew on while you are presumably laying motionless in bed, too tired to sleep. But yeah, built this time, focusing on your aim lets you question, hey, how do I go, and what can I learn from this experience that will still benefit me 6 months from now? And when you do these aim training moments, the guideline that I gave Catyr was, I believe that generally starting about a year into your aim journey, these are very general estimates, but after about a year of playing games, I think it is worth it to start spending 2 months every 3 years aim training. So you go, you're going to spend 2 months where 5 days a week for 10 to 20 minutes, you're going to go and do a classic aim labs training routine. After 2 months, unless your main game is aim labs and that's all you care about, you're not going to be able to really progress that much further without seeing serious diminishing returns in terms of the effort that you put in. But that experience, your reflections on you know, just trying to understand the internal experience of aiming and make sense of it, those experiences will stick with you, and they will continue to give you the opportunity to learn and keep improving your aim for like 3 years. You can aim train and play. On God, that straight up is it. What rank am I? Heart, you're a heckin' silly. You know that I am currently probably like fucking bronze 5 because I have not queued ranked this season or this reset at all. Feels badminton. Yeah, heckin' sneaker. So many things to just learn from playing the game alone. Exactly. So that is why, again, this is like the 18th time I've repeated this, but anytime I talk about aim, I always want to make it very, very, very clear that you should not give a fuck about your aim. And if you want to give a fuck about your aim, if you feel like it's time, you should do it for no more than 20 minutes. 5 days a week for 2 months. Beyond that, quit. You're not going to get more out of it. Very sleepy. Oh, whoa. Solo queue is so much harder to rank up. 100%. I actually have a really helpful graph that I think makes a very important point. Let me go ahead, pull it up in the Discord. And by the way, anyone out there, if you like the kind of content you're seeing, you might hope to receive some coaching one day yourself, or you just want to be here anytime that the educational content is flowing. Or if you want to be part of a really cool, super wholesome, thriving community, join the Discord down below. I cannot recommend it enough. But this right here is a chart of my ranked progress over the course of about 2 entire seasons of gameplay. You see right here, this peak, I was 1 SR from hitting Masters, which was my only goal for that reset. I didn't want to put the time to grind Grandmasters. Then I got here, and then I almost fell into Plat. I dropped all the way down to the bottom of Diamond 5 over the course of just a couple days, and then all the rest of this is just me slowly continuing to grind and grind and grind and put in hundreds of games. And then in the end, this last little leg right here was me and Hart managed to go and push up 247 SR in a single gaming session. I think it was like the day after my birthday. And that's just how it is. You just have to put in an immense fucking number of hours, especially if you are solo queuing. Or there is no chance. That's just the fact. You have to put in the hours, which is why I always say most important thing more than anything is to have fun. Is it true Overwatch puts you in games they know you will lose? No. Or like theoretically, technically, like based on the math, kind of yes, but that's not like an intentional thing where they're trying to force you to a 50% win rate. The matchmaking is based off of I personally believe these days, fairly well-tuned, robust algorithm, which estimates your skill and tries to place you against players of similar skill, which is where the forced 50-50 idea comes from. Because if you're in your right rank, you'll have a 50% win rate. And importantly, anytime the matchmaker struggles to do its job, you'll end up going on a big losing streak for a while. And then suddenly, you are now ranked a division or two lower than you were before. You're technically smurfing. Through no fault of your own, you are now in a rank that is lower and easier than the rank you are used to, so you will inevitably go on a win streak. That's why it ends up being so swingy. Hey, Sonny, what is up, gamer? Welcome, welcome. How was your stream? I hope it went well. Gatter, I can lock in again. Are there any other broad topics you want me to babble about? Or do you want me to go and get into the point here? Because holy shit, it's been like 2 hours and I haven't got there yet.
I think you did a good job with broad topics. I think.
Thank you very much.
One thing to think about specifically. I think I had told you I'm kind of working on Sojourn for the next, couple of months till Freya comes out.
I love that decision.
So yeah, I'm really working on Sojourn, and really just I have been working on crosshair placement specifically in the last week. Things that I've worked on a lot recently is just trying to have awareness of what is going on in the match besides just what I'm doing right now. Awareness of what the tank's doing, awareness of where the supports are, things like, and I really feel like that's a big thing that would help be a breakthrough for me, because it's just engagement timing has always been really hard for me, but also I think I'm really only now beginning to come to an understanding of why engagement timing is important and why going in with the tank and I mean, you play Pyrico, so whatever, but playing around your tank. I watched a video about somebody describing playing as Sojourn on Rhine as basically like playing to the side in a soccer match. Like Ryan is your striker, and
that's such a fun way to put it.
And so he basically, and like he used the more soccer oriented term, but I've just been thinking about it. Like I watched his whole match, and he just like really strongly just stayed on an off angle, but behind the tank on left flank. So like he wasn't on main, but like part of me has just been like, I know about off angles, but I'm beginning to understand the difference between a flank and an off angle, and getting into a flank is more of a decision you can should make because it's more dangerous. And if you're doing a flank, you should be more thoughtful about it. Whereas an off angle is just kind of where you should always
the default.
Yeah,
100%.
But you're still. And I think I've kind of been my understanding of playing with the team has kind of like I started out with, I started out playing. I've got like 100 hours on Curie, but my 100 hours on Curie are, I'd try to hit shots, but it was mostly from a distance, and I'd throw the kunais as much as possible. But really, I was playing behind the tank, so I knew where the team was, and I was playing with the tank. But I didn't, and then after that, my play style became a lot of flanking. but I didn't understand that an off angle was not necessarily like leaving your team. Like, you can get an off angle but still be with your team. You can get an off angle and still be like, you also like understanding the importance of high ground. Like, high ground isn't always the be all end all. Playing with your team and participating in what they're doing can sometimes be more important than just holding high ground. But sometimes, like, the other thing, the analogy that soccer person was making was he basically said he starts and ends fights in the same location, and he's really just trying to hold that ground, and that's what he does with Sojourn. So that was just kind of a different aspect of it that I, as somebody who spent a lot of time on Sombra and Kiriko, like, that not being the way that I really playing more, taking an offense from a defensive position, was really an interesting idea to me. But
this is really good. I can tell that you are engaging in what I believe to be the number one most important, most helpful exercise that you can do in order to improve, which is spending time outside of the game, imagining scenarios in the game, and trying to just go through your decision-making process. Everyone out there, when you are sitting in school and you're bored and your teacher won't fucking shut up, just like think about playing Overwatch, construct scenarios in your mind, work out what you think the optimal way to play those scenarios is, and importantly, this will give you an opportunity to think very deeply about what you believe to be the correct approach to play the game. This is, I think, the most effective, most efficient way to develop your understanding. So that's really good, though. As we go into our coaching, I do think I've now decided, based on what you just said, that I may have poisoned your mind a little bit, just a tiny bit, purely just from as a result of hearing all the different disparate tips that I give. I feel like you are honestly aware of more concepts than is helpful for you right now. Because I think you'd agree that you're not able to apply all these. What's that?
Honestly, that's been the case since I've started playing Overwatch, and like that's one of the things that I think would be beneficial to coaching is like there's so many concepts, and I understand the game philosophically more than I do actually being able to play it, but there's so many things that I'm just not like, I'm in silver and I do things that silver people do, and I have positioning that people in silver have. It's been incredibly difficult for me to really recognize on a continual basis why I'm making these bad decisions, or like I always know exactly why I died, but like I generally, but maybe there's more. I think the thing I'm not seeing is everything leading up to the death and understanding like the context, and
understanding why you know the correct decision but didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be hearing the things coming out of your mouth right now, because 100% every single thing that you just described, I could have described exactly the same. Also, old message, but debun based Obsidian. Fuck yeah, we are about that.
Yeah, you would have just said the same thing with more words, I'm sure.
Yeah. Fucking roasted. But yeah, no, that was absolutely where I was at before I started improving, and specifically like really thinking deeply about this question and actually investigating, trying to find an answer that I could accept for why it is that I could know the right thing to do, have a very solid understanding of the game, because I'm a nerd. I watch every single fucking coaching video on the internet anytime I start playing a new game. So, like, I knew fucking everything about Counter-Strike when I was 14, and I was still dog shit at it. And that continued to be true basically for my entire life until I started playing Kiriko. And what ended up personally for me bringing me past the hump is just purely the fact that I found playing Kiriko to be incredibly engaging, which allowed me to put more mental bandwidth towards playing my absolute best. Because one thing about mental bandwidth is it's not just a hard capped number, it is a resource that you get a specific amount of to chew through throughout the day. So you can only use so much mental bandwidth at a single time, but also your brain is very, very lazy and is always trying to optimize. So it is going to try to find ways to use a little bit less of that mental bandwidth to have some energy left over at the end of the day. So learning how to actually go and force yourself to use 100 fucking percent of your brain is a difficult skill that takes a long time, and investigating how, you know, what processes your mind is able to go through consciously in a VOD review to be able to understand what's happening in a situation and recognize the right decision, how you can go and take that and translate it into, okay, but how do I make this process automatic? How do I build the structures in my mind uniquely suited and built specifically for this purpose? Know what to do when you watch it back, but when you're in game, you make the same mistake. 100 fucking percent. I say this over and over and over because I do think that it is the core of anyone who is struggling to rank up. This is the question they need to solve. They need to stop asking, hey, how do I do ult tracking? You just need to figure out, how do I go and play the game that I know how to play? So if you were watching the cam while you were talking about all that, you might have noticed I got super fucking hyped through it because I'm just really happy because I do think if there's one core concept that I focus on, it's that. And so, along those lines, we're absolutely going to be going back to basics. I'm going to try to deconstruct your playstyle. Hey, shit, another gamer in the server? Thank you all for joining. But I'm going to try to deconstruct your playstyle the same way that
where are these people coming from right now?
Right? Isn't it great?
You're not even playing.
Why do I even fucking play the game? It turns out if we're just interesting and providing valuable information, then we get enough viewers that people start just fucking rolling through from.
Yeah, you had like 13 people a few minutes ago.
Yeah, feels good. Rock, thank you for joining the Discord. And Arakanine, thank you very much for joining. But yeah, we're going to be deconstructing your playstyle and focusing one single building block at a time. And as we are doing that, I want you to make a conscious effort to not even allow these other concepts that you know to enter your mind. I want you to forget everything that you've learned up until now. Don't go and down a handle of whiskey and get hammered and like dissolve those brain structures. We're gonna need those. But the conscious part of your brain, as much as possible, I want to only be used for introspection on the effectiveness of your current strategies and trying to find ways to make your training more effective. So being the manager, the overseer, that's ensuring that, you know, you go and every 2-3 seconds go and consciously say, hey, where's the correct spot to place my crosshair? And then as we go and as we build up more of these different concepts, there will be more that I have introduced in this more structured setting for you to think about. And also, eventually, I guarantee we will get to the point where it's time to start focusing on the more macro concepts. Stuff like alt tracking has an instinctive aspect to it. Like there's a part of my brain that just fucking knows when Ryan has shatter. But being able to go and actively do what Heart does, where every single time Ryan shatters, he presses tab and says, how much damage does he have? And then a minute later pressing it again and saying, has he done enough damage to get another ult? That can only ever be a conscious process, and we'll get there. But for now, we're probably going to spend the next like 3 or so sessions locked purely into these concepts related to one, just trying to make these skills automatic, learning how to decide, hey, this is what I want my gameplay to look like, and learning how to actually mold your mind to make that happen. Because this is the other thing that's super nice about crosshair placement, is it's so direct and simple that if you go and you learn how to have good crosshair placement, then when it comes to having good positioning, having good awareness, every other aspect of your gameplay that we're going to try to build this automaticity for, you'll know how. That's where we're going to start. Then, and also alongside that, not just building up automatic skills, but another thing we'll spend time on is just working on different ways for you to conceptualize your spatial reasoning, so that you are able to build up some structures in your mind that can go, and when you're in game, there's too much shit going on for you to pay attention to every little piece of geometry to have good positioning. So we'll also be working on building you up so that you're able to construct an accurate, simplified picture with every single important detail that you need to be able to make a good positioning decision, and absolutely nothing extraneous that could be bogging you down and making it a more complicated task than it should be. That's going to be our first two major concepts for the next, like, at least month or two.
Sure.
As for the next week or two, I did promise that I would go and give you some homework. I'm so fucking excited for this homework, y'all. I'm going to be making him fucking worksheets for him to print out that are like the shit your teacher would give you in middle school for a geometry test or whatever. I'm gonna be giving him geometry homework, and those will all, when I go and turn these talks into YouTube videos, all of the course materials that I create will be provided as well, because I do think that sounds like a very fun, very cool aspect to the coaching that I have not seen anyone else try. I don't know, hopefully some people engage with that. Hopefully that can help get it out there. What the fuck was I on about? Right, your homework. So I think number one most important thing, by the way, I do want to mention, seeing as I've not had the time to put thought or planning into this session, and I am also, you are aware, I'm tired as fuck. I'm not at my best. This one is absolutely, in my mind, just a chance for us to go and get our feet wet and get a kind of idea of what we're getting into, so that I can more easily think about how to structure things moving forward. So, up to you, but if you would like, I absolutely do not mind doing the consultation for free. And either way, I'm down to go and do this again next Saturday as like our first official session.
Sure. I think I think that'd be good, and whatever you want to do on that day, we could do. But certainly, if you've got any things like throughout the week that you'd like me to work on, I could do that as well.
Perfect. And the number one and most important thing that you can do to help me out is do not go and research anything about AIM over this next week. I want you to go and approach the tasks that I'm going to give you only with the tools and skills that you already possess. I am struggling a little bit because they've fucked with the voltaic benchmarks. It's new UI, but here we go. Perfect. So the one thing that I'm going to want you to do is go ahead, go to voltaic.gg. I'll go ahead and link that in the forum post.
How do you spell that?
I'm gonna link it. Just give me a sec. Coach me. There we go. There you go. That's the voltaic benchmarks. You're gonna go ahead, download AIM Labs. You'll have to make an AIM Labs account, and then you're gonna put your account name in here. I have not done voltaic benchmarks in a year and a half. So they have changed, and I'll be honest, I don't agree with the changes that they've made. But I see where they're going with it, and I do respect it, and realistically, that doesn't fucking matter all that much right now. What does matter is if you look on my stream, once you have entered your username for AIM Labs, it'll bring you to this page with what? 18 different AIM training scenarios. What you are going to do is throughout the week, sit down and grind through all of these different scenarios until you have played at least a minimum of, you've done each scenario 3 times. But I think you do have the time to do that a little more. So if you're down to put more time into AIM training, you could just go straight shot through all of them 3 times in a single sitting. I don't think it takes more than like 30-40 minutes. You could do that like once today or tomorrow, and then do it again the day before our next session, or you could just go do a couple of them every day, whatever ones you pick, until you just hit that like 15-minute mark, and then go and move on to something else. 100% up to you, because learning how to structure your training time, at least for now, is a skill I want you to develop. What's that?
Do you just hit play on the...
Yeah, so if you click play scenario, then it'll go ahead. The first time you click it, it'll say, hey, do you want to open this voltaic link or whatever? Once you've allowed it, then pressing play will go and open AIM Labs and launch it directly into the correct training scenario, and then it'll go ahead and it'll pull in your scores. And this is meant to be used as a benchmark. To be clear, if you do want to actually improve your aim, I'll teach you how to do that. The path towards improvement is not grinding the voltaic benchmarks. It's going and grinding scenarios to work on your weaknesses. Realistically, you're probably going to be in the middle of iron in every single one of these scenarios, and that is absolutely fine. But I do think it is, one, going to be super helpful for me to just see kind of the distribution of your aiming skill, to see if you're struggling more with flicking or tracking, or, you know, and for you, since you're not going to be going and researching aim at all throughout this process, it is going to be a very unique experience to get to hard focus on trying to aim as best as you can, you know, actively putting mental bandwidth towards forcing your hand to move to click on the dot. And that is an experience that few people can get, and you will only ever get once in your life. So I do think that'll be helpful. So again, either straight shot through 3 runs on every one tomorrow and next Friday, or more reasonably, it would probably make more sense to just do a handful of scenarios and go through them every day for like 15 minutes, and don't worry too much about like doing all of them in one go or anything. Just make sure to keep the overall balance even. In either case, I expect to see at least 3 runs in all 18 of these by next week. They're 1-minute scenarios, so that's 60 minutes of training that I'd like you to do. That's part 1, that's important, but you gave me 2 hours to work with, and I do want to make use of that time. So the other half of your homework is going to be, you're going to go ahead and pick a VOD, a replay of yours that you particularly feel I would like you to go and give me, we'll say, between 2 and 3 paragraphs of a write-up of your thoughts on what happened in the game. If you want to go overboard, you know that I like being wordy, so I don't mind. But I think 2 to 3 paragraphs, trying to actively focus on the most important, most impactful aspects of the gameplay is going to be helpful. And try to structure. Oh shit, did I just, my stream crashed? Nope, we're good. Shout out Twitch disconnect protection. It only went down for like a quarter second. I don't know what was up there. But yeah, get that right up in and try to structure it in a way that you think could be helpful for structuring all VOD reviews moving forward. Just start building up this skill. I want to see how well you do with the VOD review. I want to see what kind of things you pick up. I feel like chances are you're going to have a lot to say because you've watched me do it a lot. What's that?
Yeah. I think something that could be helpful is if there were a sheet or something, like maybe with 7 questions, 5 questions.
Yo, let's...
That get to the heart of like a VOD review tool.
Well, that's what we're sitting here for, and I do think that is an excellent idea, and it would be helpful for us to just go and investigate that right now and figure out what kind of template you want to go with for VOD reviews moving forward, and we'll just use it for every single one, at least for a month or 2 before we revisit.
Yeah, let's just look into it. We don't have to go into that right now. Maybe I'll look at some things and maybe see, and maybe you could look at some things too, and we could figure out what it worked well.
Absolutely. And you know, of course, you are always welcome to go and send any questions my way in the week between. Now, if you get your VOD review done and you get your aim training done, you want bonus points, I will, in the next 2 or 3 days, try and send a replay from probably like mid-diamond or above to you. And
sure,
I'll have you do the exact same thing with the same template or higher level gameplay and pick any hero and just see what you can learn from it. But again, that's bonus points. The important things right now to put us in a good position to make sure that after this next session, you can be getting the most out of this coaching. I just need to know where you're at with your aim, and I need to know where you're at with your analysis. So this is
All right.
both benchmarks, and also very much an opportunity for you to reflect on these skills and start mentally and emotionally preparing yourself to care about these things.
Sure.
So that's all I've got for that. If you're vibing and you would like to talk a little further, we can have some ideas for the template. We don't have to lock it in right now. You can go and do whatever you want throughout this week. If some initial brainstorming would help you, we can do that. But otherwise,
I think we're good, and I
Yeah.
think Hart wants to play with you if he's still up. So
did he say that? I think it's
he did
unlikely.
say that.
Wait, there's no way I missed Hart.
Want to run a couple games. He said that it was like 15 minutes or so ago.
Fuck, Hart, I am so sorry that I missed that message. It's because Twitch gave him and Sunny the same color, so I didn't notice. Yeah, there we go. I see it. Want to run a couple games. I'm very sorry that I missed your message. Yeah. If you are still around here, I would absolutely love to get a little bit of gaming in. I don't know how long it's been since you posted that message, but I think that was a productive, not intro, consultation, you know? I think we discussed a lot, and it helped me. I think I've gained a lot of information about how I want to structure things, because 100% the idea to go boot camp style, break it down, and try to focus on the smallest skills, that's something I only figured would be helpful for you from the things that you've said. So thank you very much for your time. I do promise to try to build up the skills to one day learn to be concise and stay on topic. But, you know, we'll just have to get there. It'll take time.
I mean, you got to focus on one thing at a time, right?
Straight up, brains can't multitask. It's not possible. We can try, but it's just switching tasks really, really fast. And we'll get on that one of these days as well. But for now, I'm going to frickin' let you go. Good luck with your homework. And again, if you have any sort of questions or anything like that, let me know.
All right. See ya.
Peace out, gamer. Thank you for dropping by. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.